Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020.
Resistance to Trump's agenda don't seem to understand who they're dealing with.
Jon Stewart just lit up the mainstream media, and trust me, no one was spared. He went straight after MSNBC, dragging top hosts for pushing what he called a one-sided narrative around Donald Trump. According to Stewart, they've turned news into political theater where the bias is so thick, it's nearly impossible to tell journalism from activism. And he didn't hold back. He said flat out that Americans deserve better than fear-mongering, headlines, and selective outrage. What made his takedown even more powerful? It wasn't about defending Trump, it was about defending the truth. Stewart made it clear, misinformation, echo chambers, and rage-click media are killing real journalism. His message? Journalism should inform, not inflame. If you're sick of the spin and want more of this kind of unfiltered reality check, let me know in the comments.
Missed the reporting deadline. The war is over. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Republicans are playing chess and the Democrats are in the nurse's office because they glued their balls to their thigh. And then there is this other camp who thinks that those people should shut the up.
Stop this whining, stop the complaining, stop trying to be the cool, cynical kids.
I would not want to be in a foxhole with any of the people who, were clutching their pearls all of a sudden.
Pearl clutching and hand wringing.
We're bedwetting and soaking all the way through the mattress.
We panic and piss our pants.
First of all, I'm not sure incontinence is the metaphor you want to go with.
And let's not forget, these same media voices spent years cheerleading for President Biden while conveniently ignoring facts that didn't fit their agenda. They pushed a one-sided story, dodging the tough questions and burying inconvenient truths. But now, the mask is slipping. As more people wake up, the cracks in their narrative are becoming impossible to hide. The spin is falling apart and says it's only a matter of time before the whole house of cards comes crashing down.
Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
Unfortunately, Jackie was dead. It's something that the president seemed to have known 6 weeks earlier when he released a condolence statement about her death. So, Then there was the recounting of a recent conversation that the president had with his counterpart, the president of France.
And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, how long are you back for?
Unfortunately, Mitterrand is also dead. For longer even than that first lady, so...
Watch closely whenever Trump's name comes up in the mainstream media. It's the same tired playbook every time. Flashing headlines, out-of-context quotes, and that breathless, apocalyptic tone like the sky is falling. This isn't journalism, it's scripted drama with Trump cast as the permanent villain. Jon Stewart called it perfectly. They're not informing the public, they're feeding outrage to keep people hooked and anxious. It's fear-based storytelling, not the truth.
Like the reading of the instructions people sometimes add to teleprompter scripts.
The percentage of women who register to vote and cast a ballot is consistently higher than the percentage of the men who do so. End of quote. Repeat the line. At the Catholic school I went to was a guy named Riley, last name. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years.
Then, of course, to be fair, State of the Union. concern dropped a little bit at the State of the Union. He kind of nailed it. But then the debate happened, and we kind of, what the f***? What?
Exactly, and for years, these media figures have looked the other way, even as it became painfully obvious that President Biden was struggling. Instead of confronting that reality, they doubled down on the same tired attacks against Trump. No accountability, no transparency. Just a recycled script that feels more like propaganda than journalism. At this point, it's not about truth. It's about protecting a narrative, no matter how fragile it's become.
When up on that stage, Donald Trump was engaged in a level of pathological lying that we've never seen.
Shouldn't the discussions also be about Trump's fitness to serve?
Every time he opened his mouth, he said something insane or that was a lie. Why aren't there calls for Trump to drop out? Where are they?
Yeah.
And let's not forget, these are the same media outlets that constantly push the idea that Trump supporters, or anyone with conservative values, should be distrusted or dismissed. They preach unity on camera but thrive on division behind the scenes. Why? Because once people start thinking for themselves and asking real questions, the whole carefully managed narrative begins to fall apart.
Then it got worse. Rather than respecting the American people and having an honest, at least partial conversation about what we had all seen, we were told immediately, these are not the droids you're looking for.
He has a stutter.
He hasn't debated in 4 years.
He was almost over-prepared.
He had an off night. People have an off night.
You know, the president traveled 6 time zones forward to G7, and he was also continued to do his presidential duties. And also he had a cold. He was jet lagged.
He'd been home for almost 2 weeks. He was jet lagged? How big is that f***ing jet?
Issues including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets.
Oh, I bet you really laid down the gauntlet, Joe. I bet you walked in there and just let him have it, didn't you, Joey? We've learned nothing! Even those putting up resistance to Trump's agenda don't seem to understand who they're dealing with.
This is the hypocrisy that's finally getting exposed. The same people who call Trump a threat to democracy on air are often the ones shaking hands with him behind closed doors. You can't scream dictator one day and then break bread with him the next. It's peak double standards. And guess what? People are waking up. The era of blind trust and media passes is over.
I'm just workshopping here. So, feel free to ignore any obvious weaknesses in your team's existential fight for freedom and democracy. And then just white knuckle this thing till November. Or take the advice of your own candidate.
Do you think there is any Democrat who could defeat Donald Trump other than you?
Probably 50 of them.
50? I gotta say, I like the cut of that fella's jib.